Hey Matt, we were talking to Boogie just a minute ago. Obviously, he can flat out fly. What does he got to do to make this roster to contribute on the football field?
Yeah, I think we're really deep in the secondary. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of great battles there. He's going to have to utilize his speed and physicality on special teams. I think when you looked at our scouts' evaluations of him, I think they were very accurate. In terms of things he needed to work on. I think obviously Coop and Snow and those guys, having coached him, knowing part of it is you don't see something on tape, you want to know, can a guy do it or not, feeling like, hey, he can do those things in terms of technique. So I think for us it's just going to be him learning the playbook, him cleaning up some technical things, and then making an impact on special teams with his speed.
Matt, what potential vision, if everything goes right, do you have for Brandon Smith?
We think he's a guy that can be, he was kind of one of those chess piece type players. He's a linebacker who can also rush, fast, athletic, still a young player. So we'll play him at all three linebacker positions, and then part of this weekend was looking at him, looking at Barno, seeing exactly how maybe they could fit in with us. But I think we'll start him off at linebacker and let him learn that, kind of learn that's probably one of the hardest positions to learn, and so then just see what else he can do.
Matt, when you have guys as fast as Barnes and Barno, obviously there has to be other deficiencies in their game, and the speed just sort of makes up for that. So what do they do so well that makes the speed just a bonus with that, and what do they need to improve on to become complete players?
Well, I think when you're looking for players, young players, especially players later in the draft, you're looking for traits. So it's one thing to be fast; it's another thing to be fast with great length. Arm size, hand size, height, weight. So if they have that and they show, a proclivity to be physical, attack the ball, then you feel like, hey, there's a place for this guy. So you look at a guy like Brian Burns. Obviously, he has the ability to rush the passer, but he's a guy who can do a lot of different things. And so our mindset as coaches is to get guys like that in here who are big, fast, athletic, rangy, find the right position for them, and then one thing I think is great about Phil Snow is he'll change the defense to fit the players. He'll have the same core beliefs, but we'll have guys standing up. We'll do lots of different things, and so I think in this division, I think in this league now, having people who can rush the passer and cover tight ends and backs from the linebacker and defensive line position is of vital importance. So Brandon, Amaré, those guys they're kind of in that vision.
Matt, you mentioned Burns. Have you been in touch with him, and do you anticipate him being here for minicamp?
For minicamp? Oh yeah, I think I'm assuming he will be. He went home to handle some things, and I'm sure he'll be here soon.
Is there a chance he'd be back before then? Or
I don't want to speak for him, but I mean he was here. He was doing a good job while he was here. He went home. I'm expecting that he'll be back.
As you're evaluating talent and this young talent during this mini camp process, what are some of the intangibles that you look for when you're looking at these guys?
Yeah, we really evaluate not I believe that everyone can learn, but just how hard guys work at learning and the different ways in which they do learn. I think us having a really good feel for is this guy learn better on the board, learn better on the field, that allows us to reach them faster. I think the way that they treat people in the building, all those things are always important, but at the same time also, like, this is to come in, like I said yesterday, we're not looking for backups, we're looking for people to come in and challenge and try to win jobs. And so to do that, there's a bunch of really good football players already sitting in there. So they have to have, to me, a certain level of maturity, a certain level of a football character, in terms of studying the playbook, taking care of their bodies, all those different things, to have a chance to do that. So obviously we want height, weight, speed, we want great players, we want all those different things, but also guys who can help on special teams, who are gonna do all the things it takes for us to be good. I think we're trying to evaluate and teach a lot of that too. Some guys, maybe they don't know exactly what we're expecting of them. We're gonna be really clear and direct. Here's what we're expecting, and then they have an opportunity to match that.
Matt, I have a similar question that was asked about Brandon earlier. When you select Amaré, what do you envision his role being, 2-3 years down the line?
Yeah, I think when we took him, we thought of like that Sam linebacker / pass rusher role that Hassan played last year, that Frankie played last year, that Marquise Haynes can play, that Burns can play. So, we talk a lot about positions and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, really a lot of the game comes down to third down. It comes down to the ability to rush the passer. So I think with Amaré, we saw flexibility, but we also saw the ability to rush the passer and develop into someone who can rush the passer.
Matt, Kalen was saying that he did track, I think, for a season at Baylor. Was that a deal where you kind of wanted him to stick with football, or what was that conversation like?
No, I encouraged. I mean, if you go back in my history, like I was at Temple, I had our starting quarterback. I let him go play baseball in the spring. I'm completely against specialization at the young ages. So I'm certainly against, even in college. It's like, the more you can do, the more you can do. Like, you're either going to be out running track or playing video games. Like the study hall was going to be, we're going to make sure you're going to have good grades. And so, I think we had 7 kids from Baylor, or 6 or 7 kids that were at the combine. I think 3 of them posted the fastest times at their positions. Those were all the same classes. Coop led the recruiting. As a recruiting coordinator, we called it Be Fast, and we went out and we found guys that could run track and play football. And they then decided, and that was a history that goes all the way back to RG3. He won. I believe he won. He's going to get mad at me if I say this wrong. I believe he won the Big 12 in the 400-meter hurdles or something like that as a freshman. So, Kalen, we had a spring scrimmage where I told Coop, I said, listen, he's running track this afternoon. Like, just give him a couple reps. And then Coop, whom I love, forgot that I said that and practiced him the whole practice, live tackling the whole deal. Kalen, goes in, showers, changes, goes across the river to the track, and then runs like 10.43, and then was distraught that he ran 10.4. But he was that type of track athlete. But we had a bunch of guys doing that though. We had, J.T. Woods and who got drafted this year. So we recognized pretty early there, like in order for us. We weren't going to beat the likes of Texas and Oklahoma in recruiting, so we were going to go find the biggest, fastest, most explosive guys we could, and then guys like Phil Snow would teach them the game, and it would work out. So that's why we have such faith in Kalen, because I remember going and watching him in high school. He was 10-1. We had to recruit against track. He either had a choice to take money or play football for us. That's literally the opportunities he had. So brought him in as a receiver, then moved him to corner, and saw that he had technique, but more importantly, he wasn't a track guy. He had the football mindset, which is really important.
How does playing another sport help a football player?
Well, I think growing up, I think the eye-hand coordination, like tracking the ball, like you'll hear a lot of old coaches talk about, they miss having guys play baseball. Like a lot of guys used to play football and baseball. Now a lot of guys run track, but playing center field, tracking the ball, all those different things. You kind of miss a little bit now in today's football. See, when you're a football player and you're coming up, you can't really play football in the offseason. Like if you're a basketball player, you can play AAU, you can do all those things. If you're a football player, now 7-on-7's coming along, which has been great, right? It's developing skills, but there's something about walking out onto the mat, onto the court, onto wherever, and winning and losing, right? Competing, working as a teammate. So I think as a football player, the eye-hand coordination, the lateral quickness, we talk a lot about the 40-yard dashes. We spend a lot of time here looking at people's short shuttles and 3 cones, like how quick, you can be fast, but you might not be very quick, and vice versa. So I think a lot of those things are developed early on for kids as they play different sports. And then, then obviously football, they come to football, and either they love to tackle or they don't. They love to hit or they don't. So it's a long-winded answer, but I just thought it was good. And I thought, to me, at the end of the day, like our whole program is, one of our core tenets is competition. And so, I want guys that love to compete. So if you can, in college, if you can go play at another level, go play at, if you can go play another sport, go play another sport here. I can just tell you, if you walk, there's a putting green in the locker room with everyone's tape where they made their putt from. So they compete at everything. If I say like, hey, we're going to run 40-yard dashes for conditioning, they'll do it. If I say, hey, we're going to see who the fastest guy is, they'll run 70 40-yard dashes to find out who the fastest guy on this team is. So to get to this level, you have to be highly competitive, and so that was always kind of my philosophy.
Has anyone challenged Barnes yet?
Oh, to a race? Oh, I'm sure they will. Don't tell Dante Jackson he's not the fastest human in the world, and many others. So it'll be fun over time.
Whose tape's the farthest out on the putting?
I think Fletcher. He's a really good golfer. Yeah, Thomas Fletcher. He's a really good golfer.
A good example from when you were coaching Kalen of like where his speed covered up for a big mistake, maybe.
Yeah. I can't remember who. Coop could probably tell you who it was. We were playing. Maybe it was Iowa. I don't know. We were playing one of those teams in the Big 12. He got beat on a double move and just ran it down and knocked the ball away. I mean, he just has. One thing we always said about Kalen is it's not about his 40-yard dash time. He can run as fast as he needs to run. If you need him to run 4.3, he'll run 4.3. If you need him to run 4.2, he'll run 4.2. So he has that, unique catch-up speed. And so that's important because we are a fast team, and we have, we're kind of building ourselves that way. And so C.J. Henderson is fast, and J.C. and Dante are fast. And so to add guys into that room who can match that skill set, I think is important.
You mentioned bringing in guys like that to Baylor and sort of turning them loose on Phil. I kind of feel like that's what Scott said, you and Scott said after the draft, that it was sort of your idea with some of these late round picks this year. Was that similar to what you were talking about with Baylor?
Yeah, I think it goes all the way back to the pick with Jeremy Chin. I don't know if anybody could say, hey, what Chin is, but at the time. But I was like, well, he's big, he's fast, he's explosive, and he's smart. So there'll be a place for him. He walks out in the practice field and he runs on his GPS. He runs high numbers whenever he wants to. So that's kind of been the philosophy all along. That's why Scott and I see things so similarly. Because the first round picks. Sometimes it's a clear. Second round pick. Okay, who gets to us? Third round. Once you get to the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh rounds, you're trying to find guys that have a unique skill and unique ability that you can utilize, right? And so. It might be a tall receiver. It might be a red zone threat. It might be a guy like Cade Mays who can play all 5 positions, or it might be a guy like Amaré and those guys who can they're big, fast, explosive, and can run.
What makes Kalen a football player that just happens to be fast rather than a track guy who's just playing football?
Yeah, just his mentality. I don't want the whole track world mad at me. I think there's something to. I have so much respect for track athletes, especially being at Baylor. But I think. Kalen, one of the guys. He'll play banged up. He'll play beat up. Football's his first love. He like I said, he broke his finger one time, and he just taped it up and just went out there and just kept playing. He's just a football kid that also happens to be really fast and runs track, and we had a lot of guys like that.
And do you envision him outside more or as a slot corner? Or?
I think we're going to trade him as an outside corner, and then really who goes inside on third down. Really, sometimes for us it depends on the matchups. First, second down, we love Miles Hartsfield. His versatility. We'll obviously have a lot of competition there, but with CJ coming on and Dante back, J.C. Horn's a guy that can go inside and outside. As a matter of fact, he's one of his special traits is the fact that as big as he is, he can go inside. So I think as the year goes on, Phil will utilize all those guys.
I know you haven't watched practice tape yet, but what's your first impression of Coop and Cedric as coverage players out there?
They did that a bunch last year. So I always remind Cedric that Coop was a Division I athlete, Group of 5. Cedric was not. So, but I appreciate that. That just goes to show you we got a great group of coaches who do whatever it takes to make sure we can practice. Coog's assistant O-line coach has played left guard the entire week, or right guard the entire week. So I think he's tired.
Who do you anticipate competing with Hartsfield for that nickel spot?
It's a great question. I think we'll train a lot of guys. I think, like I said, J.C. Horn's a real possibility. We're really happy with Keith Taylor. Rashawn Melvin's a guy that gives us so much versatility, can do so many different things. So, and then we'll play some big nickel as well. So whether that's Chin, whether that's one of the other guys coming down, we're kind of in that phase right now of just teaching the defense, kind of making sure everybody understands it, and then really kind of isolating on some jobs as we go. But I think just talking to Steve Wilkes, I think he's happy with the development of the secondary so far, and they're learning. So Miles will train as both a nickel and a safety, and other guys will train as corners and nickels. So we'll have a bunch of different personnel groups.
Do you think you'll sign any of the undrafted or the tryout guys?
There's a possibility, yeah. We'll meet tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. and I don't like to rush, and I hate groupthink and bias and all that. So after 2 days of practice, after meetings, we watch everything. Everyone writes everyone up, and then we'll meet tomorrow morning and talk about it. And the other thing, Scott and I were having a conversation in the field. It might not even be right now, but it might be, hey, in 2 weeks we're looking for a guy like, hey, some guys have really impressed us. And going back to your question, some guys that we didn't know much about have really impressed us with their ability to learn quickly and their knowledge and all those things which you need as injuries happen. You need someone who can step in and who's really, really smart. So we'll have like kind of a list maybe now, tomorrow, and then but also some guys maybe down the line.
Speaking of that, I think this is your first opportunity to have a normal rookie mini camp. How has that helped as you continue to, build the foundation of this team for the upcoming season?
Yeah, it's really important, and I think I can't remember how it happened last year. It's also the first time I've had the rookie mini camp while we're actually on the field practicing football at the same time. I think that's how, maybe last year was the same, but I've had a couple weeks now of watching us practice. So as I'm sitting there watching the guys out there, who are trying out, I can compare them in my brain to everything that we're doing right now. So I mean, it's night and day. The last 2 years for everybody in the NFL was unprecedented. I mean, the rules were so different. So it's great to get a bunch of guys out there because you can have 7-on-7. You can see guys compete. You can see guys. It's one thing to look good in drills. It's another thing to do, have to carry over while you're tired, remember what to do. So we're getting a lot of good work. It's definitely worth it for us.
Thank you.
You had me, and I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I can't remember if you said this yesterday, but how did you all become interested in Ryan Switzer and him being able to?
Ryan came to when we worked out one of the quarterbacks. He came to the workout, so obviously we just kept him on our list, and you can have a couple of vets. So he's done a great job for us. So we'll see what happens.
We also haven't gotten a chance to talk to you since you guys signed your returner.
Oh, Andre, yeah.
Yeah.
That was Andre was someone that we had high on the list, and we were kind of just wanted to see how the draft went. We knew coming out into the draft that what we really wanted was we wanted a left tackle, a quarterback, and a returner. Those were the three things I felt like we needed. And so some guys we thought about maybe drafting a returner that went before us. And then Andre's was an established player. We were able to get a deal done with him. So right afterwards, so it all worked out. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.